Hey, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking to Brendan Papariello. Brendan, it's great to connect with you. You are the CEO of Viniamo, which I'm excited to talk to you about. Let me give the Think community a little update on you. You're the CEO, you're the co-founder of the company. Viniamo provides small and family-owned wine producers with seamless avenues to reach the U.S. consumer. And so where I'd love to start as a business coach, I work with people all over the globe who are successful and stuck. And I'd love to get started by talking to everybody on kind of where's a recent stuck that you've experienced in business and how have you gotten unstuck?
Yeah, awesome. Well, first off, John, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
I'm really appreciative to be on your podcast. And I would say a time where we've been, stuck recently, the whole fulfillment and just delivery of a product has been a big issue for us, just kind of internally. And alcohol delivery fulfillment is a lot different than just delivering socks or something from Amazon. There's a lot of regulations. There's only certain shipping companies you can use, and probably the biggest issue is really the need for a signature upon delivery, just making sure that someone's 21 and older. So, we've been kind of trying out and attempting different shipping companies and fulfillment services over the last few months, really weighing the cost of each and kind of who has been the easiest to work with and what's the most efficient. So I'd say that is really the place we found ourselves stuck. And we actually were able to stumble upon, just through a mutual connection, a Pennsylvania-based company that has been a huge asset to us over the past few months. They're solely focused on Pennsylvania. There's a direct line of contact where with some of the bigger shippers, you can't even get someone on the phone. So working with a smaller company that's, a small business and focused on, getting our goods delivered safely, securely with, communication throughout the process and at a great price. So,
I think it's great. You bring up a really good point. And, on this podcast and with clients that I talk a lot about the importance of growing your network and having a network and having all of those, as you said, kind of mutual connections, because that's where you can, really, make things happen a lot faster because of the people in your network that can get you there. That's great. Thank you for that. All right. So let's talk about you. You are, talk a little bit more. You support producers and their surrounding communities by increasing sales and bringing exposure and visibility to the wine producing regions. And so those regions, I'm assuming, are in Italy. I think or many of them are.
Yeah. So we're solely focused on Italy.
Yeah. So how, talk about that, because, with just all of the, things that you mentioned earlier and, shipping and supply chain and fulfillment and, all of that, at time difference, how are you connecting and working across the globe?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it goes back to what we were just talking about connections, mutual connections, and just kind of networking and expanding that network. My co-founder, Carmine Berardi, has been a great family friend for the past 10 to 15 years. And, he's really focused in commercial real estate, but his, he has a very Italian-American background, very connected in Italy, through his parents, and his family really had this network of, I would say, 10 to 15 Italian producers that were truly just family friends. I like to think of it in America as like everyone kind of knows someone with like a pizza shop or like a small restaurant. Everyone in Italy, there's so many wineries. So everyone kind of knows, someone with a winery all across the country. So we had a really strong network of producers to get started with. And I think without that, I don't think we would have been able to get started, because there was this mutual trust between, my co-founder and now myself with our partners in Italy.
How did you build that trust? That's a big thing. I mean, you're talking about a lot of
Yeah.
parties. You're talking about friends, family, friends, partners across the globe. Building trust. In a world where people you can build a business overnight today, and you can have the best of class all over the world. It's amazing. COVID in a way transformed my business because my clients were, around the country, but now I would say 90% are around the globe, around the country,
Yeah.
and it's just so much easier. But how have you built trust? What's your formula for that?
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, we were lucky. Carmine's relationship with these families, that trust had been built through the last 20
Yeah.
years. Family parties, spending time with each other's children, and it's a more familial relationship, I would say, than business. It's when I came into the picture 2 years ago and really started running things. I have to build that trust with these families. I had no prior experience with them. They don't know me. I don't speak Italian. I'm just this person that's kind of handling their importation and sales of wine in Pennsylvania and in America. So I've had to build that. And I think the way I've done that is communicating as much as possible, spending time in Italy and having them spend time in Philadelphia here with us, getting to know them in person, which I think that's really important in Italian culture, is spending time, face to face, not just hopping on a Zoom or hopping on a call. They want to see you, speak with you, spend time with you, share meals with you. So I've had to build that over the past 2 years. And honestly, communication, sticking to my word, honesty, and, just being as much of an asset as I can be to them. And, through our marketing and, what we're doing here in the States, I try to showcase them as much as possible. And I think they really appreciate kind of getting exposed to the American consumer through us.
Yeah. So how'd you get into this business?
Yeah, I was my first gig out of college. I mean, I guess firstly I was a food marketing major, so kind of just marketing based around the food industry, where you get to meet a lot of larger food companies, Campbell's, Southern Glazer, Mondelez. So my first gig out of college was with a wine and spirits distributor. There's 3 or 4 of the largest wine and spirits distributors kind of scattered around the U.S. So I started with one of them selling, the big brands, Jackson Family Wines, Brown-Forman Spirits, large publicly traded companies and their brands to restaurants throughout Pennsylvania. I'd say that kind of gave me the education, just an entry into the world. And then I was lucky to have Carmine as a family friend. And I was lucky that my dad kind of grew up in the industry for the past 25 years too. So probably my dad, that's probably the biggest reason. Just, it's what he knows. It's what I grew up around.
What did your dad teach you about business?
I'd probably say what we were just talking about with our relationships in Italy, just communication and honesty to build that trust and have, strong, I call it a supplier relationship. I kind of watched him develop, fantastic supplier relationships, throughout the years where, I'd be on trips with suppliers of his and just kind of see how they interact. And I really understood, just how communication, honesty, just built that trust and a great, prospering business relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you said you went to school for food management. Who taught you, what's your business partner's name? Carmine?
Yeah, correct.
Where'd you learn more? Your dad and Carmine or school?
Oh, definitely my dad and Carmine. All respect to the program.
Yeah, all due respect to the universities, et cetera. But what did they teach you that school didn't?
I think it's tough for school to teach you about relationships and relationship building and connections and building the network. Going back to what you first talked about, at the end of the day, it really seems like it all kind of falls on communication and relationship building in the business world. And if you're doing that, like, things will fall into place. I think school does a great job of getting you exposed to different, different aspects of business, and you get to figure out what you like doing, I guess. But it all kind of comes back to relationships and building those, prospering them.
How do you think universities, high schools, middle schools, how do you think they should start incorporating all of that?
Yeah, I think in general, like, schools need to incorporate more real world scenarios, whether it's, how to manage a credit card, financial things like that, the stock market. I really think they need to incorporate more real world scenarios and less,
Theory.
reading books, theory. I'm not saying reading books is bad,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. No, absolutely. Did you ever see Back to School, with Rodney Dangerfield?
I don't think I have. I
It's
honestly
the
don't think I
funniest
have.
movie. Anyway,
Yeah.
there's this scene in it where
I'll give it a watch.
they're talking theory, and he goes back to school when he's like 50 years old or something, and he's like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about," and he starts giving kind of real life. It's worth it. You'd like the movie.
Yeah,
Like the movie.
I would say what St. Joe's did a great job with is they had a co-op program within the food marketing management area where students would go off for 6 months and work for like a company like Hershey, and they would get 6 months of real business expertise. And it's something I wanted to do. I unfortunately didn't have the GPA to get into that program, but it's great that they had the offer. And it seemed like people that went through that have since been very successful in the business world.
Real life. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So talk a little bit about your company and who your ideal clients are, Brendan.
Yeah. So we're Viniamo. We're selling to a multitude of kind of different customers and different channels, which I really kind of love about our business is we're not, solely selling to restaurants or solely selling online. We're very kind of diversified in that sense. So we sell to, on-premise and retail establishments within Pennsylvania. We have an online business that sells to about 5 states currently. And we're looking into kind of expanding into selling to distributors outside of Pennsylvania and other states so that they can sell our items. And then here in Pennsylvania, we have our own brick and mortar retail because of the way we're licensed. So we're really getting exposed to many different kind of sales channels, and we're getting to see, what is working for us, what's doing well, why are wines, selling to restaurants but aren't selling to retail, all of that. So I love having the different sales channels, and we're just kind of looking to grow each of those.
Yeah, I love it. Let me ask you a question. When you look at business and you look at where the market is today, we're recording this in August of 2023. Where do you see your business, with technology changing and evolving? How do you see that affecting your business, 2-3 years from now as you forecast out?
Yeah, I think it's only going to help us. I'm not super, I'm not very read up or kind of involved with the AI world currently. I think there's a lot of benefits that they could add for us, whether it's, I think a lot of people sending us a question like, what will this wine pair with? And kind of having a AI generated response to them, giving them, pair it with this salmon dish, here's the recipe. So I see those kind of technological benefits we could have in the future. I see and this is something I haven't really seen before, but kind of a wine shop that doesn't necessarily have a person working there. So similar to like self-checkout at a grocery store, I'd love to find a way to do something, through a computer at one of our wine shops here in Pennsylvania, and kind of innovate the Pennsylvania wine and spirit space with something like that.
It's interesting that there's, these at the airport, one of the airports I was at recently, they had it where you just walked in, it picked up on your iPhone, your Amazon account, it was like an Amazon store, and anything you just picked off the shelf, even if you put it, I mean, whatever you walked out with, it just charged your credit card.
It's amazing.
It was,
it really is.
It's pretty crazy. So I think there's a lot of evolution, and like you said, like AI and the pairings and things of that nature. It's going to be interesting to see. And I think a lot of the technology, frankly, as we talk about, as we're sitting here, August 2023, hasn't even been invented yet. That's going to change how our businesses morph in 3 years. So to be continued. Let's do a quick speed round, Brendan. A book, a TED Talk, or an article that's had the biggest impact on you?
Oh, man. Oof. John, I wish I was a bigger reader. I really do. It's something I have to.
What about a TED Talk or an article or anything?
Yeah. I'll go something kind of recent. I read an article that I could send you after this about why people from Abruzzo, Italy, have such a strong connection to the Philadelphia region, and just kind of about the modernization of Italy and why people had to migrate to the United States and why people from that specific region ended up in Philadelphia. So it kind of had stuff to do with, my family history, plus cool. Where I live now, plus our business.
Yeah, that's cool. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Geez. I'll go with my dad. I'll go back to what we talked about is just being honest.
Yeah. And finish this sentence. One thing everybody can do in their personal and business life to expand their network is?
Talk to people.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good. Brendan, I appreciate it. I love this podcast because I'm a business coach and I work with people who are successful and stuck. I get them unstuck, and I get to have guests like you to help people get unstuck. Think community. Brendan shared a bunch of stuff today. I just want to extract one thing that I think is really, really, really important, which is always be expanding and growing your network. It's going to help you so much in your business and in your life. There's an old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But, once you find the who's, you still got to know a lot, I think, at that point too. But expand your network and really make it a point to evolve it on a weekly basis. Brendan, this was great. Tell people where they can connect with you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, John. They can connect with us on Instagram or on our website. Both are Viniamo, VINIAMO.co. Send us a DM, check out our wines, ship your wines. If you're in a state we can ship to, but we appreciate the exposure and the conversation, John.
It's great. I appreciate it. And you can reach me, Think Community, at jondwoskin.com. Brendan, this was great. Thanks a ton. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, John.